understand specific factors. This is where our problem is. Some of these factors are recounted in Arkansas Code 1681-203. Now let me show you 1681-203. 1681-203 is not a gun code. 1681-203 is a criminal justice code. It dictates when an officer can detain and question you based on the grounds of reasonable suspicion. So, she says, including including demeanor of the suspect, the gait and manner of the suspect, any information received from a third person, those are your red flag laws, right? And the suspect's proximity to known criminal conduct.
That's why we have the American flag.
While merely possessing a loaded handgun completely on its own is not enough for reasonable suspicion, possessing a loaded handgun in combination with just one additional factor may, depending on the circumstances, be enough to create reasonable suspicion of intent to unlawfully employ a handgun as a weapon. So let's look at the grounds for reasonable suspicion, because she says just one and possession of a gun is enough to make you a suspect. The suspect's apparent effort to conceal an article. Do you notice that conceal and carry is inherent in this requirement? Your intent to conceal an article gives them grounds to treat you as a suspect according to the law. What about this one? The gait and manner of the suspect. What is the definition of that? How do we judge that? Is this completely subjective to the officer? Can I ask you a question? If you are concealing and carrying a firearm, doesn't that kind of change the way you walk a little bit? So inherent in carrying a gun, it can change the gait, the way you walk, which automatically now, according to the law, gives them grounds to treat you like a suspect. How about whether the suspect is carrying anything, or what he or she is carrying, or, right? So if you're carrying something, do you see how arbitrary this law is? This puts complete arbitrary discretion in the hands of an officer to look at you and say, he looks funny, I'm now going to detain him. How about this? The demeanor of the suspect. Can somebody tell me what that means? Do you know what a demeanor is? I'm happy. I have a happy demeanor. If I have a happy demeanor, does that make me now a suspect? If I have a sad demeanor, does that make me now a suspect? Well, of course it does, because it just simply says the demeanor. It doesn't say suspicious demeanor, does it? It doesn't say criminal demeanor. It doesn't even say scary.
It's scary, all right.
The incidence of crime in the immediate neighborhood. So let's talk about this. If you are walking through a dangerous neighborhood and you are carrying a firearm because you know it's a dangerous neighborhood, you are now a suspected criminal according to this statute. The particular streets and areas involved. I thought your state constitution in Article 2, Section 2 said that every person was equal under the eyes of the law. Apparently, if you live on particular streets and areas, you are not equal. Apparently, if you live in some neighborhoods, you are not equal. Because living in a neighborhood makes you automatically a suspect worthy of being detained. guys see how concerning this is? Some of these factors. Do you know what that means? Some of these factors. That means there's more. They're just not on the list. We are literally giving individuals the authority to arbitrarily and subjectively detain people because they can say, you know, he looked weird. He had a bulge under his jacket. I'm sorry, I thought I had a right to keep and bear arms without your permission. I'm sorry, I thought I had a right to conceal without your questioning and treating me like a criminal. James Madison, in an essay on property, says, "That is not a just government, nor is property secure under it, where the property which a man has in his personal safety and his personal liberty is violated by arbitrary seizures." This, ladies and gentlemen, is about as arbitrary as it comes. Now, this is not a condemnation on anybody's efforts. This is not a condemnation on the laws that you have to protect your right and keep and bear arms. What you have is some of the best that I have seen in the entire country. But if you had somebody that agreed and you thought, wow, that's really weird, they're agreeing to this law, you know, because it really establishes our right. Maybe it's because of this. And now you know what you need to fix. Because regardless if it has to do with your right to keep and bear arms, I want you to notice this is bigger than that. This is the return to the conditions in America of 1760, where British customs agents and tax collectors who were greedy and immoral could literally stop you and search you and take your stuff with no check and balance and no due process. Where is your due process if an officer in Arkansas has the authority to say, you look weird, stop, I'm going to search you? This is something that you guys can rally around. This is why you need to be a member of this group.
Amen.
Because you need to work together to make this right. If the very act of carrying is reasonable grounds of suspicion of a criminal act, do you have a right or a privilege? We need to fix this, don't we?
Yeah.
What if the federal government decides that there's an entire 100-mile zone around the United States where you have no rights at all? Well, that what if has already happened. They're called Constitution-free zones. They've been established by the federal courts. That's why when you go through New Mexico and you find a border checkpoint that's actually 82 miles from the border. Excuse me, what good is a border checkpoint 82 miles from the border?
Only for us.
See, a lot of this, I believe, is established to give people a comfort with the presence of these kinds of things. And if the Constitution doesn't apply in these zones, we actually have a federal kingdom with no limits at all. I actually live right there. The entire state of Florida, according to the federal courts, is a Constitution-free zone, which means the state of Florida is no longer a state. It is a colony in the Kingdom of District of Columbia. See, if we don't understand the problems, how are we going to find the solutions, right? What is that? Knowing there's a problem is having the solution, right? What is it? What do they say that AA curriculum? Knowing there's a problem is the beginning of the solution. Do you see now that red flag laws are not just a Second Amendment issue? Red flag laws take your right to self-defense, take your property without due process. Unlawful, arbitrary searches and seizures take your right to a trial. They're an excessive fine, and they make you guilty until proven innocent. I understand you don't have red flag laws here, but you have people trying to push red flag laws here. You need to stop this now. Do you know what Patrick Henry said? He said you should hold suspect anyone that approaches the jewel of liberty. That means anyone in your House, your Senate, or in the cabinet that approaches the jewel of the liberty of the right to keep and bear arms and says, we need to have a common sense debate about your right to keep and bear arms. I'm sorry, your Constitution already established that. And those words out of their mouths should make them suspect, which means they need to go. They need to either be educated, corrected, or removed. Why? Because it's a natural right. Among the natural rights of the colonists are these: a right to life, to liberty, to property, together with the right to support and defend them in the best manner they can. These are evident branches of, rather than deductions from, the duty of self-preservation, commonly called the first law of nature. It doesn't come from the Constitution. Your Constitution comes from the right. And if you don't have the right, there's no need for the Constitution. Samuel Adams said, if we tamely suffer a lawless attack upon our liberties, we encourage it, and we involve others in our doom. It's a serious consideration that should weigh heavy upon our hearts, that ages and millions yet unborn will be the miserable sharers of our experience. Gun control laws, correct me if I'm wrong, began around 1934. We are the miserable sharers of our grandfather's experience. And it's been downhill from there, because not only have we suffered now from those laws, we have become a society deceived into believing those laws are good. Let me ask you something. Do you think as a society we are safer now than we were in 1933?
Nope.
We have more gun laws. We have more gun control. If you've seen any gangster movie from that era, you know they had automatic rifles. Right? By the way, they had automatic rifles in our revolution as well. So if they keep buying the propaganda that they're keeping us safer, how come we can't see the contradiction in the history? Gun-free zones don't make you safer. That's where all the shootings happen. Here's the only question ever needed in a gun debate. Because it's not about hunting. And it's not about robbers and rapists. Do you trust that no one will use the power and force of government either now or any time in the future to try to take your life, your liberty, and your property? If the answer to that question is no, then the gun debate is over. Period. Remember, I'm not just here to educate you. I want to disciple you. I want to help you. I want to activate you. We've identified some problems today, haven't we?
Yes.
So now get activated and fix them. Because guess what? That young man that was sitting over there is depending on me. So the first thing I want everybody to do is to join Patriots of Acts 7:46 today. It's not in numbers, Patrick Henry said, that we gather our strength, but in unity. The unity in liberty. Do you want them to help you do this? I mean, they've already established the relationships. They've already established the process. Now let's get behind them, empower them, and fund them to make this happen. Everybody agree? How much was it, Gary?
Pardon?
How much is it to join?
ALC, the POA 746 is a grassroots bank.
Yeah?
The Arkansas Liberty Coalition is $30 a year.
$30 a year.
$30 a year.
Holy cow.
Cheap.
What can you buy for $30 a year?
Every bit of that goes to further education for court challenge.
Anybody know how much it costs to court challenge something? That's why we need unity. You know what it is? It's called synergy. Synergy means when two come together, create a power than the sum of the individual. Your $30 is not 30 plus 30 plus 30. Your $30 turns into $3 million. The power of influence for liberty. I've been saying for 11 years now, correct me if I'm wrong, we need to be lobbyists for liberty. Because there are lobbyists up there for everything but that. We're not going to be fixing the system by denying its existence. We've got to get into the system and tear it apart from the inside out. My husband and I are teachers at River University in Tampa at the River School of Government. It's a Christian school, so our guiding scriptural philosophy for the River School of Government is Acts 17:6. Those who have come to turn the world upside down. Because you see, right side up in America today is all wrong. We need a generation of people who are willing to get into the system and put in a liberty virus that spreads and tears down all the arbitrary, wicked, oppressive elements and turns this world right back the way it's supposed to be. Liberty over security, principle over party, and truth over personality. Join us every day on our daily podcast and get these updates all the time. Seriously, if you don't know about the TAPS Act, you can go to krisannhall.com right now. Go to the website. There's an article on the TAPS Act. There are radio shows on the TAPS Act. You need to know about this. I'll also teach you specifically about red flag laws because it's not just about acquiring information, it's about getting ammunition. How many of you think maybe you need to learn a little bit more about the Constitution? A little bit more about the history of America and why it is. That means you need to go to libertyfirstuniversity.com right now and sign up. Because there is no other place where you can get this education, whether you go into a college or sign up online. It just doesn't exist. If somebody else did it, I wouldn't do it. But they don't. Get armed! Not just simply with firearms, but with the wisdom necessary to secure them. Let us help you. Well, I'm done. We have over here on the table so many things to take with you. If you're not sure if you want to be a member of Liberty First University, we have DVDs over here that we've pulled directly from the curriculum and put them on DVD. You can pick them up right here and sample what we have. And once you get them, I am confident that you will be ready to sign up. We have students, middle school through PhD in American history. I have law students, lawyers, judges, all signed up because this is not taught anywhere else. And I'm just going to have to tell Gary, he's going to have to give me some kind of commission or something, because I've never, ever encouraged people to join a group as much as I've encouraged them to join this one. Because I know these people work hard. And I know their motivation is pure. And their wisdom is soft. Did I say they were infallible?
No,
Did I say they were unquestionable?
no.
We're human. But I know they're trainable. Thank you guys so much. God bless you.
I want to recognize Roger. Roger's probably the hardest working person in the state, and he deserves recognition. But anyway, grant artists, we've got some items out here we're doing a silent auction on to raise funds to help with the cost of bringing Kris in. ALC will make up the difference in what it would fail to raise. So if you would donate to that, and there's ammunition and different things out there is doing a silent auction on it. And Chuck's out there if you so choose to help us bring Kris back in the future. And I will tell you, yesterday I was quite shocked. We have a sheriff, we have 75 sheriffs in this state. And I will go on live and tell you right now, 70 of them probably need to be primary. We've got 5 good sheriffs in this state that I'm aware of. Then you have maybe 5, maybe 10 more that are